The world remembered him as a genius, a man who changed how we saw time, space, and the fabric of reality itself. Albert Einstein, smiling behind a chalkboard, hair wild with thought, eyes full of wonder. But before the fame, before the theories that bent the universe, he was simply a man. A young man, in love, with secrets buried so deep even time almost forgot them. One of those secrets was a daughter, a little girl the world never knew. And her story begins long before Einstein became a name the stars would carry. At the end of the 19th century, Albert Einstein was not yet a legend. He was just a poor student at the Zurich Polytechnic Institute, rebellious, brilliant, and uncertain about the future. There, in the lecture halls filled with numbers and ideas, he met Mileva Maric. She was unusual, not just because she was one of the few women in physics, but because of her mind. Sharp, meticulous, fierce in debate. Einstein was captivated, not just by her intellect, but by the way she challenged him, equally, fearlessly. They fell into something that looked like love. Letters passed between them, filled with scientific dreams and quiet affection. They spoke in codes, in ideas, in the secret language only two young minds could share. But the world around them wasn't ready for what they had. Mileva was Serbian, Albert was German. Their families disapproved. The university frowned upon it. And still, they stayed together, drawn by something they couldn't explain. Then, in 1901, everything changed. Mileva became pregnant. There was no place for an unwed, pregnant woman in scientific circles. Einstein had no job, no degree yet. They had no money and even less support. So Mileva went back to Serbia, to her parents' home, alone. And in January 1902, she gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Lieserl. No photos, no birth certificate, no official record that she ever existed. Just a handful of letters, personal, delicate, exchanged between Albert and Mileva. In one of them, Einstein asked, "How is our Lieserl? Does she cry a lot? Is she healthy?" His words were filled with tenderness, longing, and distance. He never met her. It seemed Lieserl may have been sick. Another letter mentioned a possible case of scarlet fever, common and often deadly at the time. And then nothing. She disappeared from the letters, from history. Some believed she died. Others whispered that she was quietly given up for adoption, perhaps to protect Einstein's career or Mileva's family honor. Whatever the truth was, it vanished. Years passed. Einstein finally secured work. He and Mileva married. They had two sons, Hans and Eduard. But the weight of the past never left them. Their marriage faltered. Einstein grew distant, cold, absorbed in his work. Mileva, once his equal in thought, became a shadow beside him. By 1919, they were divorced. He remarried, grew into fame, accepted awards, traveled the world. His name became a symbol of brilliance. But he never mentioned Lieserl. Not once. Her existence remained hidden, erased, even from his autobiography. And for nearly a century, no one knew she had ever lived. Then, in the 1980s, a box of letters surfaced in an attic in California. Dozens of personal notes exchanged between Einstein and Mileva. In them, the first haunting clue: Lieserl. The scientific world was stunned. Who was she? Where did she go? Why did the greatest mind of the 20th century keep her a secret? The answers never came. There were no photographs, no definitive trace, just that name, Lieserl, and a few fragile lines from a man known for his mind, but rarely for his heart. What could make a father abandon a daughter? Was it shame? Fear? Practicality? Did he mourn her? Did he remember her face? No one knew. Einstein spent the rest of his life consumed by science. He worked until the end, scribbling formulas on hospital paper as his body faded. He never publicly spoke of Lieserl, never wrote her name again, but some believe she was always there, in his silence, in his regrets, in the part of him that the world never saw. Because even geniuses carry ghosts, and this ghost had a name that almost disappeared. Albert Einstein redefined the universe, but the story of Lieserl reminds us, even the brightest minds live in shadows. Behind every legend is a person, flawed, complicated, human. And sometimes the most brilliant lights leave the deepest mysteries in the dark. We may never know what became of that little girl, but perhaps remembering her now gives her back the existence that history took away. If this story moved you, share it. Let her name be heard again. Lieserl. And maybe that's enough, for a beginning. Albert Einstein redefined the universe, but the story of Lieserl reminds us, even the brightest minds live in shadows. Behind every legend is a person, flawed, complicated, human. And sometimes the most brilliant lights leave the deepest mysteries in the dark. We may never know what became of that little girl, but perhaps remembering her now gives her back the existence that history took away. If stories like this speak to you, stories of forgotten truths, of genius and heartbreak, of the people behind the legends, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel, There are so many more stories waiting to be told, and one of them might just change how you see the world.